Hello, Harris Huskies. It's us again from an undisclosed location here in the school. Maybe you can figure out where we are. Well, my job today is to introduce to you and to support what our head Husky started, our rule of being safe, by keeping hands, feet, and objects to self. This is one of the most important ones that we'll ever talk about in the school because it has a lot of consequences that can come with it, either good or bad. So the rule is that at no time, students, do you have a right to touch other people or their possessions at any time. So you need to respect that boundary, and you need to make sure that you're not you're keeping hands, feet, and objects to self.
Now, we talked about we wanted to talk about here and be here in this undisclosed location for this respect agreement wall. Now, let's talk about why we do respect agreements. I'm sure your teachers have talked to you about it, but one of the most important things is to understand, as humans, we bug each other sometimes. Okay, like we step on each other's toes, like we bother each other, and that's just welcome to being a human being, right? So the respect agreement helps us understand what helps other people understand what bothers them, and helps us understand what bothers other people, so we can be respectful. Now, I want to point out up here, under student to student, there is one that we wanted to see here, and it's on our respect agreement in here. It says, no touching without permission. So when we talk about keeping hands and feet to ourselves, that is important because it bothers other people, right? And so as we're learning to respect each other, we're going to learn to give space and not to touch unless we have permission.
I like that it talks about boundaries in there too. It also, in one of those, it talks about not touching other people's stuff. And so that's my job, to talk about the stuff. This is a hat. Ryan Stream actually gave me this hat, and he signed it there on the bottom. He signed this, sorry about that, the alarms go off. He signed this hat for me, and I'm actually going to give this hat away. But I'm only going to give it away in a drawing sometime later in the year for those students who can keep their hands, feet, and objects themselves. So as we go, we'll have all the students in a drawing in a hat or by computer. And when I pull out a name, if it's a kid that I've never dealt with in the year that has kept hands, feet, and objects to self, I can look you up really fast. Then you'll be the winner of this hat. So hopefully you can do that. But remember this, students: a hat, glasses, a backpack, someone's clothes, they're extensions of their body, and they don't want to be messed with. And so don't touch other people's stuff, don't touch their hats. In fact, our rule is you can wear a hat at school, but it's not a guaranteed rule. If you mess with other people's hats, I may say to you, you can't wear a hat here at school. So if you can't respect other people's stuff, you won't get it as well. So please respect people's hats, glasses, other things, and don't touch their stuff. Phones too, especially. I had a phone the other day, somebody was messing with it, and they dropped it and broke someone else's phone. Leave people's things alone. Thank you so much.
There's now, as we're looking at this, we wanted to remind ourselves there's no reason we should be touching other people, especially because then if that's a problem and we're having struggles keeping this agreement that we've all made to each other, then we'll have to talk to you in the office and talk about ways we can think about and learn to have that boundary. And so that's important. We love to talk and teach students, but if you need to talk and learn with Mr. Lee or myself, we're glad to help teach about that individually.
We want to make you a promise, students. We promise that we are going to have a consequence for any student who does not keep their hands, feet, and objects to themselves. In a school of 825 kids, what if everybody was out hitting, kicking, poking? We'd have a lot of hurt kids. And we're here to learn, not be hurt. So no touching. Last thing is, you're going to see these, and you've seen them before. It's called You Did It Right. Under the category of safe, there's a box that can be checked. I will keep my hands and feet to self. So what we're asking for this week, staff members, is as you reinforce this, when you see someone that's really respectful of someone else's boundaries, or maybe even if they kind of make a slight little, bump into somebody and they saw a really good example of them apologizing or doing a boundary appropriately, what a great time to give these away. Students, remember, you turn those in the office. Before and after school, there'll be a basket of a little treat you can get something for in the office. Then we enter those into a drawing for different prizes. Lastly, we also will call parents and let them know when you see one of these good ones, the great things you're doing here at school. So here's a guiding question for you, advisory teachers. So we want you to reflect with your classes right now and talk with them. How do they feel when their boundaries are violated? How do they feel? How does it make them feel when someone messes with their hat, with their belongings, messes with their phone? And anytime someone is touching someone else or kicking someone else when they shouldn't be, would you have a conversation now with your classes about how kids feel about that? Thank you. Have a great day.